Hey everyone, welcome to my presentation on tax saving tips. My name is Nazareth Beg, and let's get started. Just to share a little bit of information about me, I graduated with an MBA from the University of Chicago Booth School of Business. As you know, Booth is probably the #1 school, business school in the world. It's ranked #1 by many publications. I also received a bachelor's degree in computer science here in Chicago as well. For the first 10 years of my career, I was a software developer, designed enterprise level software. And then for the past 6 years recently, I've been in software sales, helping businesses increase their revenue, also coaching other entrepreneurs and how they can increase their revenue and run their operations, and also help them raise funds from investors and create a budget plan for their business. So I'm also married and a father of 4, so I'm very busy in my personal life. Just a disclaimer, these are tax saving tips, not tax advice. Okay, so don't take what you learn from here and go and implement it into your own tax return. Okay, always check with the CPA. Also, if you're doing your own taxes, I would recommend go get yourself a CPA. Again, this is not tax advice. These are just knowledge and education that every American should know. Okay, this is similar to if you have a medical condition and you do some research online about a particular drug and its side effects, or a particular medical treatment, and you go and talk to your doctor about it. Hey, what about this treatment? Would this work? What about that treatment or that drug? So arm yourself with knowledge on tax savings. This is what this is about, okay? Just a quick question about your knowledge on your finances. Do you know where your money is going? A lot of Americans don't, surprisingly, and they don't have a budget. And those who do not know how to stick to it. But this is what the average spending habit looks like. Okay, folks like just you and me. So for every dollar that comes in that we earn, 20 to 40% of it is going to debt. So here you see my mouse, showing you that this is a pretty large slice of the pie. And so this is your car loan, your mortgage, your student loan, credit card loan. A lot of students are graduating with huge debts. So it is very important for students to understand about their finance and their accounting and things like that. And then after that, the U.S. government can care less of your loans or anything like that. They're going to take what they are going to take. Okay. Excuse me. So on average, Americans are paying about a 30% tax rate, which is a lot. Okay. There's ways for you to reduce that, and we'll talk about that later. And then everything else, after everyone has gotten paid, finally whatever's left over to you is about 30 to 50%. All right. So after that, then you're going to pay for your car maintenance, your food, your clothing, your kids' clothing, maybe save it for a vacation if you have something left over to save for a vacation, or for an emergency fund. A lot of people do not have an emergency fund. So it is very important for you to understand why you need an emergency fund in today's economic climate. Okay, things happen, things come up, and you don't want to ring up your credit card, okay, because that's a high interest rate loan. So sometimes people think that this is a bleak picture. How do I control this? How do I increase this slice of the pie where after everyone gets paid, I can get more money for myself? Well, one thing that is in your control is lowering your taxes. Okay, if you educate yourself on taxes, you can actually take advantage of legal U.S. laws to lower your taxes. Okay, and we'll talk about that in a second. Just to ask you a quick question, what would you rather have? Would you rather receive a $17,000 raise every year for the next 10 years, or save $10,000 in taxes every year for the next 10 years? Okay, I'll give you a second to think about that. The answer is save $10,000 tax every year for the next 10 years. Tax knowledge is one of the most effective knowledge that you can acquire in your life. Okay? After you've paid at all your taxes, that $17,000 raise every year comes out to lower than $10,000 a year. Believe it or not. We all know the more money you make, the more the U.S. government wants to take from you. Okay? But you can protect yourself, all right, from that kind of taxes. So most people don't realize this, but what people pay in taxes exceed their food, their clothing, their shelter, and all their expenses combined. People don't realize this. So the name of the game is not how much you make, but how much money you keep. Okay? So nowadays, this, again, I repeat, that the more money you make, the more the U.S. government wants to tax you. Okay? One of the top discussions among wealthy people is how much taxes they're paying to the government. That's why they'll have an account in a safe haven, where it's tax-free. They'll, have an account in Monaco or in the Caribbean or something like that. They'll do, and what also wealthy people do is they'll hire CPAs full-time, tax lawyers full-time, to really work on their taxes and come up with tax strategies 24/7. So you don't have to be wealthy to come up with these tax strategies. Okay, you can leverage these as well. Okay, you don't have to have a 24/7 CPA. Here are some cash drain myths. My accountant takes care of my taxes. No, they don't. They file your taxes based on the information that you provide them. Your accountants are not going to go through every penny you earn and every penny you spent on to figure out and understand whether or not if that penny is tax deductible or not. They're just not going to do it, especially when it's tax season and they're working 20-hour days. I'm sorry, your accountant is not responsible for taking care of your taxes. They're responsible for, if they're hired, then they are responsible for filing your taxes and according to the law and according to the data that you give them. All right? Thinking that, oh, my accountant takes care of my taxes is similar to saying, my mechanic is taking care of my car so I can run my car however way I want. It's similar to saying, oh, I have a doctor. My doctor is going to take care of my health. So we can eat as much. Wouldn't that be awesome if that were the case? If a doctor was truly responsible for your health, and then you can just eat all the cholesterol and all the fat that you want. It's just, it would be so awesome. And then you just go in once a year and just get your arteries cleaned out, your gut cleaned out, and your intestines cleaned out. It'd be fantastic. But your healthcare provider, your doctor, is only responsible for treating you, and doing a physical once a year and telling you like, hey, watch your diet, do some exercise, okay? And if you have a medical condition, they will treat that condition. But you are responsible for your health, you are responsible for your finances and your accounting, okay? But you have professionals like CPAs, doctors, and things like that to take care of these, okay? But you're the one in charge of your money. The second myth, I love this. I already get a tax refund every year, so I must be doing okay on tax reduction, which is not the case. Okay? When you get a refund, that means the government took way too much money from you. So at the end of the year, when your accountant says like, oh, you're going to get a $1,000 refund, and you're like all happy about it, great. The government's paying me $1,000. No, the government's not paying you $1,000. The government basically took out way too much money from your paycheck, and they're giving you back some of it. Okay? So again, let's pretend for a second you have your income, whether it's $10,000 or $100,000. Let's use the $100,000 example because the math is easy. You paid you earn $100,000. 30,000 of it the government has taken. At the end of the year, you sit down with your accountant and you say, okay, well, I have certain tax deductions. I have kids, I have a mortgage, that interest is tax deductible. My kids are obviously exempt, so I get some credits for that. So your accountant says like, okay, well, it looks like from that $30,000 that the government has taken from you, it looks like they have taken too much, and now you're qualified to get $5,000 back. I'm just throwing these numbers out here. Okay, so that tax refund doesn't mean that you're doing okay on your taxes. You went from a $30,000 that the government has taken to you to $25,000 that the government has taken from you. You're still paid $25,000, which you can lower that as well by taking advantage of some of the tax laws that are out there. Okay, so here are some facts of taxes. 84% of Americans and small business owners overpay their taxes. Can you guess by how much? Collectively, how much are Americans overpaying on their taxes? By an estimated 150 billion. That's B with a boy per year. Okay? 150 billion per year that the government is getting because due to Americans not educating themselves on their taxes and not leveraging the laws that are available to them. And then here's the worst fact: 90% of you think that you didn't pay. You didn't think you didn't overpay. This is what you're thinking, that you didn't overpay. I'm good. I'm getting a refund. I'm good. 90% of you are thinking that way. All right, so this is critical. So here, what if you can deduct meals, deduct your entertainment, your vehicle usage, your home office, deduct equivalent to the amount of your kids' college and your weddings? It would be nice, right? Deduct medical expenses like braces, deduct travel, and so much more. What if you can do that? Wouldn't that be awesome? Then you can get, pay less, going back to that picture that I showed you of where your money is going. So why are people overpaying on their taxes and they're not taking advantage of some of these tax laws that are out there? Well, people have all kinds of excuses. Time consuming, there's extra documentation, there's procrastination, there's a lot of lost receipts and faded receipts. Nowadays with these faded receipts, it's hard for you to get, if you put a receipt in your pocket and you leave it there for about a week or two, it's gonna get faded, and then you can't go back and find it. You can't find out what you paid for it. Credit cards don't count. That's easy red flag for the IRS. So if you go through your bank statement, your credit card statement, you're like, oh look, this is what I paid on my in my credit card. No, not true. Mileage logs are a pain. Driving somewhere from point A to point B, figuring out how many miles you've driven, and then documenting all that, that's a pain. Okay. And the other thing that the core of my presentation here is that you don't know the rules and you're scared of an audit. All right. If you know the rules, you wouldn't be scared of an audit. If you arm yourself with the knowledge. Okay. Here's the answer: education, and combined with state-of-the-art tools. What if I were to introduce you to the knowledge that Sandy Botkin has? And Sandy Botkin provides you the education that you need to save on your taxes. Here are some credentials of Sandy Botkin. He's a CPA and he's a tax attorney. He is a trainer for the IRS. He's the president of Tax Reduction Institute for the last 30 years. Okay? He's a featured tax coach for Tony Robbins in his wealth seminars. He's awesome. And he's a best-selling author. One of his books are Lower Your Taxes, Big Time. And what if Sandy were to help design particular apps that will help you track your mileage, help you track your expenses. Wouldn't that be pretty cool? What if you had access to, and I were to introduce you to, a tax team that sits down with you every 3 months, once a quarter, and figures out your tax strategy for you? You know, sits down and figures out like, hey, you know, from your job, you're earning this much. Maybe you should increase your exemptions or decrease your exemptions, or pay off this debt first, or pay off that debt first. What if they were to help you with that? That would be pretty cool. And what if I were to put a lawyer in your back pocket, and you don't have to go to multiple places? What if I were to show you all to get this from one place? Wouldn't that be pretty cool? So if you are interested in these types of services, okay, to get all, your tax reduction, get the tax knowledge, get the finance knowledge, and really, I like to credit Robert Kiyosaki for constantly telling people like, hey, you need to get the financial education, all right? And a lot of people push on this. A lot of these successful gurus that are out there, financial gurus out there, Sue Zorman, Robert Kiyosaki, Tony Robbins, they're all talking about you need to get financial education. All right, you need to get your handle on it. All right. So let's connect. Email me. Email me at nuzrith.beg@gmail.com. Let's set up an appointment. Let's talk for 30 minutes. Send me your name, your phone number, or if you prefer Skype, we can definitely connect on Skype. Time you're available and the time zone that you are speaking from. All right. Once a week, Wednesdays, I hold a seminar, but let's connect one-on-one for 30 minutes and figure out if you are qualified for this seminar, so I can share with you the program that we introduce people to and help them on their taxes. All right. I look forward to your email and look forward to connecting with you. Thanks. Have a good one.